questions or anything at all. So hopefully we'll have an opportunity to chat with each other today, sharing some practice and obviously opportunity to reflect. And then as part of the network meeting as well, we'll also give you some updates and developments from national and local perspectives too. So we'll get those shared with you as well. So it wouldn't be the Health and Wellbeing Network if we didn't do a quick wellbeing check-in with you. So always a little bit of fun just to get us started. So please feel free to join in the chat and maybe reflect on our sheep scale with us today. How you're feeling today, which sheep do you most resonate with as we're getting halfway through almost the second part of the summer term. So I don't know, maybe Sian, Jane or Kate, you might want to share which sheep you're feeling with us so far today.
I like these sheep. We haven't seen these sheep before.
No, they're newer.
I know, and it's very appropriate because you're right, the fields are full of them. Well, yeah, good question.
I'm not really sure. I
like number 7. I like number 7.
I'm 7, Sian, today. Definitely. So.
I'm going for the number 9 with the flower. It's a flower, Rosemary. It is flower.
It is, yes.
Yeah, flower, I'm going with the flowers.
A garland of flowers. So we got a couple of people feeling a 3 today. Yes, I can imagine there's so much going on and busy times at the end of a term. So I'm sure we can all resonate with feeling like we're a 3 at the minute as well. We got a 6. Oh, I like that one. That's a really good one. Definitely feeling smiley and happy. Hopefully you'll still be that. Lisa's feeling a 3 as well from St. Gladys. Okay. Well, hopefully you'll feel ready to take the bucket off by the end of today's session and we can go from there as well. But thank you for sharing those with us. It's just a little bit of fun just to check in with you all and see how you all are as well. Right, so just going to run through the agenda for today. So lots to cover and lots to think about. So we're just going to do a little bit around sharing some information around the whole school approach. And also Shern. Then we're going to talk about Trace. So we're welcoming David Curtis today. He's going to share some information with us as well. And Kate will do a little bit around ACE awareness. We're going to do a little bit of celebrating and reflecting. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in terms of health and wellbeing and equity. There are some new curriculum design materials coming through from Welsh Government, so we'll share those with you. Also some updates around diversity and anti-racism and also social and emotional learning. Sian's going to give us some Sports Wales updates as well. We're going to talk a little bit around CWRE and then a little bit around anti-poverty and grant planning and RADI. And then finally, we're going to talk to you a little bit around the marketplace events that you're able to join. I can see everybody's joining us. Oh gosh, 7 ran the first half marathon on Sunday and you're exited in pain, Dave. I've just seen that come through. Very impressive. Yes, half marathons are also always joyful things to do. I've done a couple myself and then leave it for a little while before I do another one because the legs are always hurting.
Yeah, not so much about the joyful part of it. I don't know if I'll be doing another one, mind. I think it's done. It's done.
Once in a lifetime experience, is it, Dave? Yeah, fair enough. But brilliant. So I can see lots of you joining us. So that's great. We will pop the attendance link in afterwards for you so that you can register your attendance with us this afternoon, just running through the agenda and all the different things that we're going to cover into this afternoon's session. So just a little reminder to you around the whole school approach to emotional and mental well-being. So you will work quite closely with your health promoting schools practitioners within your local authorities and also the regional implementation leads who you'll know well as Emma and Liz. And they have been working with you around the whole school approach self-evaluation tool as well. So I know that the target that everybody is working towards, particularly over this next academic year, is that all our schools and settings across the region are action planning for that whole school approach. And again, if you haven't made that journey to get started on that whole school approach self-evaluation tool yet, then please get in touch with either Emma or Liz and they'd be more than happy to help. So Emma supports schools across Monmouthshire and Torfaen as the implementation lead. And Liz supports schools across Newport, Blaenau Gwent and Caerphilly. And again, if you want some support with anything that comes out from your self-evaluation tool from our team, we're more than happy to also come in and help. We work quite closely with Emma and Liz around that as well. So just a reminder, if you haven't got started on that, or you perhaps started and you're continuing, there's also a hyperlink on this document that'll take you to the self-evaluation tool itself, so you can have a little look at what that involves if that's something you want to be looking at. So also quite closely linked to the whole school approach to emotional and mental well-being is the Shern survey. So I know primary colleagues have done the Shern survey. You're still waiting, I think, for your a feedback from the Shern survey at the moment. I believe it's due next week, and hopefully that will be with you soon. But that also means now that the Shern survey will be opening for secondary schools ready to undertake their next Shern survey if you've already been part of it. But if you haven't before, this is a great opportunity for you to get involved. It also helps you particularly identify any key aspects around health and well-being that support your curriculum development going forward, as well as your approach to supporting well-being within your schools. So the registration opened on the 9th, so just 2 days ago, and it closes on the 19th. So again, if you want to get involved and you haven't, or you need to get ready to register to take part again in your next round, you just need to either visit Shern, which Kate's very helpfully popped the link in the chat for you, or you can contact Maria and she'd be happy to talk you through what you need to do to get signed up to do that as well. Also, moving forward into 2026, I know they've talked really closely about this, is that school level dashboard that's being developed as well, which is going to really help you with some insights and support your self-evaluation around what's happening effectively within your schools and how to take that forward and adapt your curriculums or support to meet the needs of the learners, particularly in your school. So just a little plea, really, if you haven't, as a secondary school, got involved with it before, please have a good look at it, and we'd be happy to put you in touch with some secondary schools that have, or if you have, don't forget to register again to get yourself started and up and running, ready for the next round of data collection. It will be really helpful to support you with your self-evaluation processes going forward as well. So just a couple of reminders around those key things for the whole school approach. So I said earlier, we're welcoming Dave from Public Health Wales, who's going to come and talk to us a little bit today. So I'm going to hand over to Kate to introduce David, and then David, you'll be able to, I'll stop sharing and you'll be able to share your screen from there as well. Kate.
Yeah, fab. Thank you, Adelaide. Okay, so we're very lucky today because we've got Dave from the ACE Hub who's going to talk to us about the Trace Toolkit. So lots of you will be aware, and we have been doing it a while in this region, Dave. We've all very fully aced up, hopefully. Lots of our schools have had the adverse childhood experience training, but we know that we sometimes have new staff or staff that have changed roles that might not have had the training. And we know that the Trace Toolkit that you're going to talk to us today is that kind of next step within that information around understanding adverse childhood experiences. So Dave's going to explain to us what he's been doing. He's going to talk to us about the Trace Toolkit and explain what it looks like and all the different sections. And also on the slide after, but I'm going to pop it in the chat now while I remember because I've copied and pasted it already. There is also some training for us to share. So if your staff haven't had the original ACE training in, trauma-informed practice, there are some e-learning courses now available for you as well on Hub that you can access and share. So just pop that in there. I know that Dave will remind you of that as well, but just while it's in there. So is that okay, Dave? Over to you. And if anybody's got any questions, please pop them into the chat. And then if you do want any further training or you need any more of those links, we can get you them at the end. Okay, thank you.
Kate. Oh, great, thank you. Yeah, so if I just share my screen, right, hang on. That's where I was panic a little bit.
So we can see it, Dave. It's all there.
It's all there.
It's all there.
I do this all the time, and still every time I panic. There has been times that it hasn't. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, yeah, so I'm Dave Curtis from the ACE Hub Wales. So if you haven't heard of us, the ACE Hub Wales is we're sort of a government organisation, sort of hosted by Public Health Wales, where our aim is to sort of create a sort of a trauma-informed nation in Wales. So we're working with lots of different organisations to help them become more trauma-informed, be more aware of ACEs, the impacts of trauma has, and sort of mitigating those issues where we can. So my role is with school engagement. So I've been going around working with a group of schools in Swansea at the moment, but some from all of South Wales, around helping them with our Trace Toolkit and helping them become more trauma-informed. So, yeah, a few years ago, if you haven't, you might have already seen this before. So apologies if I'm sort of repeating myself here. Just going to add my background is as a primary school teacher of 20 odd years and as an art psychotherapist as well. So sort of come into this role with those sort of two lenses. The Trauma Informed Wales framework was put together 2021. It was released by us in ACE Hub Wales and Traumatic Stress Wales by sort of sort of organised by Welsh Government, just to sort of map out what trauma-informed means and sort of what, how, sort of like get an approach, because there was a lot around at the time about what trauma-informed means, what it's, how you can be more trauma-informed, different approaches and things like that. So there's a document here, which is a link to at the end of the presentation. There's also a community summary version as well, which is a bit of an easier read version of it. But within it, and again, apologies if you've seen this before, we're looking for sort of every sort of organisation, hopefully in Wales, to be sort of trauma informed, and there's different practice levels. So we've got sort of, like, if you imagine like a school setting, you'd hope everyone within that school setting would be trauma aware. So it's from teachers to cleaning staff to kitchen staff would have a sort of an awareness of what trauma is. And then you'd have your sort of trauma skilled level, which would be your teachers, your learning assistants, classroom support, who would have maybe those few more skills around sort of emotion coaching. It could be using like PACE, that sort of having that sort of, building up that, that sort of an emotional connection with people. Then you've got your trauma enhanced, which might be your sort of ELSAs or your sort of your wellbeing team within the school. And then you've got your specialist interventions then, who would be sort of CAMS interventions, or it could be your ed psych services that are coming in. So yeah, and those are very sort of fluid. So it's not to say, right, you're in this, you need to know this, this and this. So we'd hope that the sort of the trauma aware thing that, I don't know, if the sort of school clerk, they're your sort of, if someone came into school, they were looking upset or sort of dysregulated, they might have an awareness that it could be some trauma or around that, or be able to signpost people. Your trauma skilled people would have just that little bit more sort of knowledge. It's kind of just looking about how your organisation could be set. So we've got some training, which Kate mentioned, but I'll talk a little bit about later, that kind of covers that trauma aware part and sort of goes into the trauma skilled part as well. So what I've been doing is working with schools. We've got a trace toolkit, which I'll sort of go through at the moment. What we had was, there's some really good organisations out there, like Trauma Informed Schools, who are doing amazing work. At my school sort of worked with them. They did the accreditation. They were fantastic, but it's quite expensive. And what sort of schools have been telling Welsh Government is that, obviously money's really tight at the moment. They might not be able to afford the training or the work. So is there anything that they can do? So we said, yeah, we've got this toolkit, which like a self-assessment toolkit that we've used in different organizations, that it could be applied to schools as well. Schools could use it and sort of look to see where they are and what they might need to do. So I've worked with a range of schools, of primary schools, secondary schools, and PRU as well in Swansea. And we're sort of using it as a bit of a, not a pilot as such, but we're sort of trialing it out with some, in some schools there to see how they approach it. So when I sort of go through it, I'll sort of explain a little bit more about how schools have used this, and offered a bit of training with them as well around the sort of the trauma aware and trauma skill level. I've gone into schools and done some work on emotion coaching with them and sort of helped and supported them in that way. They've then completed part of the toolkit, and they're onto the sort of action planning phase of it now, where they've sort of self-assessed where they are and what they might need to sort of work on, or if there's any sort of tweaks or things that might work well in one area of the school that might need to be rolled out as well. And then with our hope is that we can sort of use this as a sort of a case study as such, to sort of show that other schools then can go onto Hub and use the toolkit and say, right, how do I do this? And there's guidance on there already. It might be going on and looking at a similar sort of school with a similar sort of cohort or different similar sort of area and saying, right, they might have focused on this is what we would like to do, and sort of, just sharing that good practice really. Now, I know Kate said lots of schools here might already be doing that, so it'd be amazing to sort of reach out to you, or if you would love to reach out to us and share what you're doing, that would be absolutely fantastic. And like I said, we've been quite Swansea centric at the moment, just because of the schools that have sort of taken us up and looking at sort of building a little cluster there. But what we'd like to do as well is just connect schools together. So we might say, for example, it could be a similar school with a similar sort of cohort to yours up in Conway, or experience similar sort of difficulties. I know whether it's around sort of children with English as a second language and how we'd sort of approach that in a sort of a trauma-informed way, and being able to link schools together really. We are planning a road show in September. I'm not quite sure how it's going to look yet, but it'll be sort of a way of, again, sort of showcasing good practice of those sort of trauma-informed practices in different schools as well. So that could be something to hopefully look out for. The toolkit itself, if you haven't seen it before, there's, like I said, it's available on Hub. We've got a new playlist that's just sort of recently come out, which I'll sort of show you again. But there's 4 steps to this, essentially. The first one is sort of the preparation side of it. Then it's completing a self-assessment tool, which isn't that big. Some schools have sort of chosen to do the whole thing in one go. Other schools have like focused on one area of it. Then action planning, and then monitoring and sort of evaluating it from there. We're a bit different in, I know some other organisations do a sort of an accreditation where they'll come out and sort of every 2 years and sort of tick whether you're trauma informed or not. But we found that isn't always the best way of doing it, that this should be something that's sort of embedded and sort of weaved throughout everything you do, and like an ongoing process, really. So we don't really offer accreditation, but we're in that sort of process at the moment where we can come out and support you and help you as much as possible with this. So yeah, the first sort of part of it is preparation. So within your school, you might be thinking sort of there's a readiness review, which you can sort of complete. I've been sort of going into schools and sitting down with people, and I think it sort of works better when doing this process, that it's not just one person in the school sort of relying to do it all. Because if you're self-assessing what you sort of how trauma informed the school is, sometimes it's useful to get a few different sort of eyes on it. So it could, I know with some of the schools I've worked with, they've got put a little team together of it could be someone from senior leadership, it could be teacher. We've got ones with governors involved in it as well, or parent governors, support staff, and it's just to give that sort of different lens to when you're sort of doing the assessment, of noticing different things that, as a teacher, sometimes you might say, "Oh, right, yeah, everything's going, yeah, this is good, but we know we need to change that." But then when you speak to other people, especially the parent side of it as well, because it's a sort of a whole school approach, a whole school community approach, it's looking at things from a sort of, different sort of ways. So once that sort of plans out and looking at sort of who's responsible, how long it's going to take, you can move on to the self-assessment. So in there, we've got sort of 6 domains. Now, this isn't, like I said, the self-assessment toolkit itself is kind of a one size fits all, because we work a lot with lots of different organizations, so criminal justice, like third sector organizations, and with health and stuff as well. Instead of making a self-assessment tool for each one, we've sort of done one which fits everything. So some of the language might seem a little sort of businessy, but it's linked into schools. So we've got governance, leadership, and organizational culture. That's looking at sort of the strengths from sort of the leadership sort of buy-in from above, the policies and procedures that you do within your school, the workforce and training. So looking at how staff are looked after, the physical environment. So looking at the school itself, the service design and delivery is your sort of teaching and learning, and the monitoring and evaluation then of looking at how this is sort of monitored and carried out. Some of the schools that we've worked with have focused on just the physical environment to start off with, and they might say we're going to look at this over the next 2 terms or over the next term and just fill that bit out. Other schools have gone all in and filled everything out and sort of picked things out from there. The physical environment's quite a nice one because there's a lot of overlap with things that might already be going on. We're looking at the moment as well with working with Neurodivergence Wales at looking at how neurodiversity and trauma sort of overlap. There's some of the behaviours that come out from that. And yeah, so they're not that big. Each one is about 3 or 4 of these sort of statements that you can sort of fill in. And the good thing about it as well is we're sort of really focusing on the strengths and positives that are going on in schools at the moment. So a lot of schools are really far ahead of this anyway. It's kind of as a school, sort of bread and butter, that sort of compassionate approach anyway. So it's not like we're completely restarting. Like some of my colleagues working with sort of some in the criminal justice system, they're quite a bit behind where we are with schools, So it's amazing when we sort of sit down and sort of go through this with some of the schools, how much good is already being done and how much is there. And it's just kind of looking for those little things that you might think, well, this is working well in this site, this sort of area of the school. Can this be replicated other places? Or it could be, talking about like if a new starter starts, how do we sort of make sure that they're sort of trauma informed and the training can be put in place, and just noticing these little things and making changes, small changes really. Then it's action planning. So it's kind of, again, picking out those things that might be identified and looking for sort of timescale for completion. Like I said, some schools are looking at termly, doing it half termly, or even over the year and thinking, right, we're going to do this for a year and come back and look at it and sort of readdress it again and sort of reevaluate it and go through and sort of fill it out once a year. It's also looking at the outcome measures as well, which can be quite a difficult one with when looking at sort of trauma-informed practices, and like how do you measure that there's been a sort of a positive output from it. And it's something that lots of schools are sort of measuring it on, or could look at things like staff well-being, or children's well-being, or sort of exclusion rates and behavior rates and things like that. But a lot of it's sort of that sort of anecdotal sort of stories that children are sort of saying how happy they are in staff, noticing things like staff saying they're much happier, parents being able to come into and feel more sort of contained and more sort of secure in the sort of environment as well. So it's looking about those different outcome measures, what is obviously what's useful for your school. And then monitoring, evaluation, then review is just at the end, then looking back, and how often you're going to sort of go back, how you're going to sort of feed this back to the rest of your staff, what sort of impact can it make. So it's hopefully nothing too huge. The schools that we've sort of worked with so far have been quite surprised that it's not, well, firstly about how much good there is going on already within the school. I think is a good thing, and it's almost a good way of highlighting that good practice. From that, but then also noticing little things. And obviously as a school, we so as an organization, we can sort of come in and maybe link people up and say, oh, have you thought of doing this? Or you might want to get in touch with this school because they're doing a really good example of that. And it's not really for us to come in and say, yes, you're doing this right, or no, you're doing this wrong, sort of thing, because I think every school is different, and every school is sort of on a different sort of stage of this journey. We have got some resources which I will quickly go through. This is on the hub, on Hub at the moment. If you put in adverse childhood experiences, it should come up. It's the phase 1 and phase 2 playlist. So this should cover your trauma aware and sort of into the trauma skills sort of level of it. The further ones, we've got tips as well. I'm not sure if we've used tips. They is a trauma-informed practice skills set, which we're sort of trialing at the moment for more sort of specialized trauma, such as PTSD, complex PTSD, and things like that. So that'll cover those. So at the moment, it's in a, and that's done by our colleagues in Traumatic Stress Wales. So yeah, we sort of overlap with them. So that'll hopefully be coming out soon if you haven't already heard about it. So yeah, on Hub, it's just a playlist that's on there. We've got the trauma-informed resources on the trauma-informed framework, how to become a trace-informed school and why it's important. There's an e-learning course on there, which Kate mentioned earlier. This is it's a link to our website. It's about 45 minutes long, 50 minutes long, and it just sort of talks about, in general, trauma and ACEs. It's a really good one, and schools have been using it for, like I said, new staff, sort of, again, as a bit of a refresher, and sort of just that thing around, it's not directly aimed at schools, but just sort of ACEs and trauma in general, really. And you can see some of the sort of the content of it there.
I've done it recently, Dave, and it's really good. Just to say to schools, it's very much, it mirrors some of the original stage 1 and stage 2 that we did around 2017, 18, was it that we did?
Yeah.
And they use some of the videos and things that went with it, but it's a really good resource for you to use. We used to share a video recording, but actually this is better for staff. They can do it on their own in their own time. I did it as a governor, so it's there for everybody. So I think, yeah, it's really useful.
Oh, thanks, Kate. Yeah, it is. We've only had it for, it's been live for a few months now. And yeah, everyone's sort of, really happy. I know it's, like I said, it's a really good one for staff training as a bit of a reminder, a bit of a refresher as well. So it's open to anyone. Like I said, it's free, and the access is on through either on this, the link on the playlist, or you can go straight to our ASAB Wales website and it's on there. There's also a video, which is the phase sort of 2 side of things. It's in English and Welsh. It is a recording of a PowerPoint, but it sort of talks a lot about emotion coaching. There's a bit of a refresher on ACEs and the impact of trauma. Talks about meta emotion philosophy. It goes into a lot about emotion coaching from Dan Hughes, talking about pace or place, because we've got the sort of the liking or the loving element of it as well, and talks about how that can be used in classrooms and within schools. The window of tolerance, and how sort of when we sort of become dysregulated, how we can sort of come back into that window of tolerance as well. Talks a lot about staff self-care, using Jennifer Mosley's use of like different wells and how we can sort of keep them topped up to keep our sort of self-care there. And there's also a part about teaching resilience in children as well, and how we can do that. Each of the videos are about I think about 20 minutes long, 25 minutes long, so not too long. But they do sort of apply more to those skills of sort of, in the classroom that you can use around emotion coaching and that as well. So I have been sort of going into schools and the schools in Swansea and supporting and offering some sort of training around that. I'm thinking hopefully as this sort of grows and stuff, obviously it's just me sort of doing it all of Wales at the moment, but if there is anyone who wants to sort of wants us to come in and support them with this, I am sort of available to do a bit of emotion coaching training and come into schools and do that as well. So yeah, if anyone wants to get in touch with me about that, they can. But yeah, at the moment it's on there, so there's the videos to support that as well, and also then all the Trace Toolkits documents are on. There's a guidance document. There's a lot on. We've got stuff on physical spaces as well and how to sort of develop those on our website. So yeah, there's a lot on there on the Trace Toolkit. So if you'd love to go and have a look at that. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, like I said, our website is Ace Hub Wales to go and have a look on that. And if you go onto Hub, those resources should be in there. I hope that's okay, not to whistle stop. I'll come up with it now if there's any questions.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, Dave. I've obviously got your email, so if anybody emails me, unless you'd like me to share it in the chat, or if you just want to use the main ACE one for schools to contact you, because I know that lots of our schools will probably be interested in, particularly around professional learning,
yeah,
when it's free. They will definitely be there.
Yeah, it's like I said, we like at the moment we are offering it sort of as a bit of a package really for any schools that want to do the toolkit, especially with the training and stuff as well, for to come in and support them as much as possible with completing the toolkit and the action planning and stuff as well.
I will say it reminds me very much of when we first did the training a long time ago. There was a sort of an evaluation document that came with it. I don't know whether anybody completed it because it was a really long evaluation document. I was afforded the time to complete it and it was really beneficial. So the toolkit, the Trace Toolkit, reminds me a little bit of that document, only I think that it will be easier to complete and it's broken down into steps. So, and it was very beneficial for understanding how we did that whole school approach to trauma in the school that I was from. So I would, if you do have the time and it is something that you're focusing on, it's a very useful tool. Thank you very much, Dave. Has anybody got any questions? No? So I've popped the links for the training into the chat for you, and obviously we'll share the presentation as well within the Teamspace so that you have the links that Dave has shared with us too. And if there are any questions after, please just let me know and I can, and Dave has popped his email in as well, but we know it links with all of the current guidance and policies coming from Welsh Government about being trauma informed and understanding, and that link to your positive relationships, your sense of belonging in school. So please have a little think about it for the new year. Thank you very much, Dave, and have a really nice afternoon at Sports Day.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for having me. I've got to shoot off. It's my son's sports day now. Otherwise, I'd hang around. But I'll catch up with the recording.
That's okay. We do appreciate you coming. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much. Cheers, everyone.
Thank you. Bye. Okay, so I have popped that in the chat for you. And as I said, there are lots of resources out there. The ones that are online, the ones that I've popped into the chat, they are very much that part 1 and part 2. So it is around, as Dave said with his lovely diagram, it's that trauma away bit. But I know that lots of our schools are probably at that trauma skills level. So linking into those other videos he suggested around emotion coaching, using place as well with Dan Hughes and the window of tolerance, it just builds up your tiered provision then for supporting our vulnerable learners. Thank you very much, Adelaide. I think we've done that section.
Lovely, deal, Kate. And yes, and I know lots of you will be thinking about and reflecting on planning your professional learning for staff, and also reflecting on your priorities for the coming academic year. So hopefully this will be something that you can use or reflect upon to help support you with your school development priorities, but also enhancing that professional learning for your staff as well. So everything will be, like I said, in the Teamspace afterwards for you to access as well. So hopefully that's really helpful. And if you do have any questions, like I said, you can either email Dave or please ask us and we'll be happy to help in any way too. Right, so the next thing we're just going to share or reflect on around the region as well is often it's not always an opportunity, as I know you're incredibly busy in schools, to have a look at all the wonderful things that are happening across the region in respect, particularly around health, wellbeing and equity as well. And lots of you will be aware that Estin have developed their new Estin inspection framework, and also alongside that developed their reporting. And part of that reporting now also looks at spotlights and spotlights effective practice within schools, particularly around any sort of key areas. So I thought it was a really great opportunity just to, as we're coming towards the end of an academic year, to do a little bit of a stop and reflect on some of the spotlights that have happened across schools across our region, and also just have an opportunity to reflect on some of the themes that are coming through from Estin, particularly around all of the visits that they've undertaken across the year, and just an opportunity for us to reflect on what that means for us from a health, wellbeing and equity perspective too. So just going to share with you some of the spotlights that are coming through. Also, it's useful then if this is something that you're looking at or focusing on your school, you might want to then go and have a little bit of a closer look at the Estin report of that particular school to find out a little bit more about what they're doing or how they're developing it. But equally, there's schools within our region as well, so don't forget that to have that opportunity to link in with them. And equally, what we hope you'll notice today is any of those key themes that are coming through in the spotlights and in some of the reflections from the annual report, also matched up with professional learning and opportunities that you might want to look at developing those when we share some of those updates with you for the rest of the session as well. So we've got opportunities to think about those aspirations around that world of work. So really important is that cross-cutting theme of CWRE within your curriculum. So again, my Sycamore Primary School have been looking at how they're developing that. So an opportunity to think about how they're linking in with professions and professionals to come and support them and raise those aspirations for their learners in the future. We've also got Glencoyd Primary School, who've been particularly focused on, for them, young carers and young carers within their schools and how they've then developed that support for them. And I know Kate will talk to you about how you can link in with young carers and support those learners, particularly from that particular aspect or perspective, if you needed some support around that. Also to celebrate some of the things, some of the other aspects, wellbeing and attendance. I know attendance is often at the prevalent issue that's coming up for schools at the moment. So TSAF have also been looking at how they've linked their wellbeing and attendance and those importance around daily check-ins with pupils, and obviously then their teaching assistants offering that support. And again, we've looked at Microsoft Reflect and different ways that you can support check-ins for your schools to do that. Shire Newton also have been looking at that values approach and again built that values approach through their curriculum, their assemblies and opportunities to reflect on it, and as a result that's supporting positive relationships and behaviours within their schools as well. We've got Ysgol Gymraeg Casnewydd, who've also been looking at support for wellbeing. Again, they have offered or developed a provision around CUTCH, and again, that daily support for wellbeing and emotional health. And again, that's helping towards improving positive attitudes towards learning. And also Malthus Court, particularly around learning environments. And as Dave was just talking about the importance of looking at the physical environment and how that supports learners, they've developed their learning environment to have positive impacts around that. We've also got Padre Pio as well in Torfaen, and they've been looking at their family links and family and community engagement, and we often talk to you about the importance of that as well. So again, the impact that has had in terms of developing those positive home-school relationships, but also because of developing those positive relationships with their families, it's also then helped them when they've looked at some of the aspects around cross-cutting themes in respect of diversity and anti-racism, and they've informed that going forward. Blenheim and Coediva also looked at their community-focused school approach. So they're, again, a huge aspect around opportunities to support their families with targeted support, and again, as a result of that, attendance for those learners has increased because of the approach they've taken to their family and community engagement. And also Mega Primary School in Monmouthshire, again, particularly around supporting wellbeing and ALN learners, and again, looking at the support of intervention programmes and how they've developed those. And as a result, that wellbeing or the wellbeing levels of those learners has improved, enjoying coming to school, and they were able to discuss their emotions, and they've again got those regular wellbeing check-ins with their learners, which help to support them throughout the day. So lots to celebrate across the region in respect of some positive approaches to supporting those health, wellbeing and equity approaches in their schools. One of the other useful things to do, and I'm sure as teachers and as leads, you don't always get the opportunity to stop and reflect and have a look at the Estin annual report, but actually it's really useful to provide some insights, but also some opportunities for you to stop and reflect and use them to help you with your self-evaluation with processes within your own schools to think about and reflect going forward. So some of the key things that are coming through from a primary school perspective in respect of the annual report from Estin are those key things around RSE and developing your relationships and sexuality education purposefully. And one thing which was interesting was a few schools are beginning to weave that through the areas of learning and experience. So that might be something to think about in terms of stopping and reflecting on your RSE provision within your schools as your cross-cutting theme and how you are weaving that or bringing that through in terms of your areas of learning and experience. Lots talked about the importance, or it talks about the importance of that unique character of Wales, and again that importance around reflecting the diverse nature of Wales. Again, that feeds in very importantly to human rights and that cross-cutting theme, and we've also shared lots of opportunities for you to develop that within your curriculum around the road to rights and the resources that Kate's been working on as well. So again, something to think about how you're bringing that theme through. And then a little bit at the bottom there about sometimes pupils not encouraged to share their lived experience or to see themselves reflected in their learning environment. So again, going back to that diverse nature of Wales is thinking about your learning environments and how you are then reflecting your learners, A, in their learning environment, but also B, through the curriculum that you're offering as well in terms of those things going forward. So some interesting things to reflect on. Again, a key theme that's coming through is that across primary schools, pupils' wellbeing, attitudes to learning and the quality of care primary schools provide is strong, and often there's a secure sense of belonging within schools. Sometimes lessons are a little bit overstructured and there's a lots coming through in terms of common theme around independent learners. And I know Jane's been working on a particular professional learning offer and resource around supporting independent learning, which again helps support that well-being of your learners. So again, if you want to find out a little bit more about that, we'd be happy to help. Also, the importance about developing meaningful opportunities for pupils to contribute to the life and work of a school. And that also includes evaluating the quality of teaching and learning within your school as well. And also then pupils using their leadership skills, particularly to benefit perhaps their local community, and that often linked to more sort of sustainable practices as well. So some of those key themes. And then secondary schools, and I think it's really important that we look across the spectrum of 3 to 16 curriculum, and particularly working in our clusters, we need to be thinking about where that goes in terms of our learner journeys. So again, a good reference to particularly CWRE, actually, beneficially reintroducing work experience placements for year 10 and year 12. But they talk about only a minority of secondary schools taking full advantage of opportunities to work with local college to enhance their curricular offer and think about future choices. So CWRE is a really important element to think about in your curriculum from a secondary perspective. Partner school or partner primary school collaboration, ensuring learning continuity is really important. And I know lots of you have been working closely with your primary schools to look at that understanding of shared understanding of progression across those areas of learning experience and building that curriculum offer across. So an important thing to think about. And then also that aspect around suitable opportunities for understanding those more diverse opportunities within your school, again through curriculum assemblies and visiting speakers, and that celebrating achievements and diversity has been a really positive focus, particularly in secondary schools as well. A couple of other things to think about. Again, in secondary schools, care, support and guidance for pupils remains strong. And again, most schools offering beneficial enrichment activities that support pupils' development. And similarly, opportunities for learners to have an influence over some of those schools' life. So again, particularly in health and wellbeing, that this was noted, and leadership skills through groups and committees. So thinking about your pupil voice. And again, making sure that learners from specific groups have those opportunities to feed in and contribute their opinions. Although there was a note that many schools did not systematically gather pupils' opinions on important areas like teaching or empowering them to be part of strategic decisions. So it might be something you want to think about in terms of how your pupil voice are influencing the teaching and learning that's happening within your school as well. So lots to think about. And the final part from a secondary perspective, again, most schools effectively promoting those spiritual, moral, social and cultural development, especially in the younger years even. Those tutor sessions, health and wellbeing lessons, assemblies. Often there's comprehensive personal and social education programs which support exploring mental health and maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Obviously responding to those relevant and current issues such as vaping, and lots of you will talk about the work you've done around that. And actually the Shern survey really helps to support you to understand what the key issues are coming through from a health and wellbeing perspective, so that you can then adapt your curriculum to respond to those things. A little bit around fewer opportunities for the older pupils. So often the younger pupils within secondary school have a really excellent diet around some of those things, and perhaps some of the older pupils it's less well developed. And lots of schools encouraging our learners to become ethical citizens through those fundraising links to charities and volunteering and so on. And then finally, the other key area, which actually links quite closely into sort of CWRE and thinking about some of those things as well, but specific areas where anxious or insecure pupils receive support for their learning. So lots of schools have developed support for those learners, and often vocational subjects and tailored courses are available in many schools, again, to support those learners, particularly at risk of exclusion or disengagement from their education. And again, that's helping to contribute towards that inclusive and nurturing nature of schools, and thinking about your vulnerable learners as well. So lots of things to celebrate, but also some key themes coming through that might be helpful for you to think about or reflect on in respect of health and wellbeing and the areas that are driving forward for your school. So what we wanted to give you an opportunity to do this afternoon is just have an opportunity to have a little bit of a breakout room with some of your other colleagues within the room with us today, maybe to reflect on some of the themes that are coming through from the annual report. Are they relevant to you? Is it something you've been developing, or have you got some practice to share in respect of those? So we've highlighted a couple of key questions for primary or secondary, or if you're an all through, you might want to consider all of those, but particularly around human rights and RSE, thinking about your pupil voice, thinking about how you're developing that diverse nature in terms of your learning environments and your curriculum, thinking about PDG, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well towards the end, and maybe a little bit around sort of those CWRE aspects, how secondaries and primaries are working together to ensure that learning continuity in health and wellbeing, and thinking about, again, how you gather those opinions. So we thought we'd give you 10 minutes just as an opportunity to stop and reflect. We'll pop the questions for reflection into the chat as well, and it would be really nice, not really nice, it would be really lovely, I hate the word nice, I can see English teacher Jane staring at me going, I can't believe you used the word nice, Adley. It would be really lovely just to hear some feedback as well from you in terms of, are those things resonating with you? Is there any practice that you would like to share with us, particularly in those areas, or actually is this an area of development for you, and we're looking for some support to take that bit forward. So I think Sian is going to work her magic for us this afternoon to pop you in just a short breakout room. We'll pop the questions in the chat, which Kate's all over, I think, as well. So thank you, Kate. And like I said, we'll give you 10 minutes or so just to reflect on some of those thoughts in respect of the health, wellbeing and equity piece as well. So just for you to be aware, Welsh Government have just published some new materials to support curriculum and assessment design. So I know lots of you will be well on your way to having designed your curriculums within your schools. So it might be a useful opportunity to use the tool to stop and reflect. So just wanted to highlight those to you and share them with you, particularly if you're looking at developing your health and wellbeing AOLE specifically, and maybe some tools that will help facilitate your cluster shared understanding of progression when you do that. So they've got a couple of models and templates for you, so questions for you to reflect on, and then some key considerations, and then also some planning tools that you can use to help you, which are linked to those key areas around ask, design, teach and reflect. So some things to think about in terms of ask, so identifying your learner needs, design, so how you're building on that learner progression, and then teach, so how you're going to deliver that learning that you want to, and then that opportunity to reflect on the learning. So again, not going to go into detail around those, but just wanted to highlight them so that you're aware that they're available to support you. And also there's a national programme alongside that if you want to get involved to support your curriculum design. And also this PowerPoint is hyperlinked to all of those links so that you can go straight to them if that's helpful. So one of the other things we've just talked about actually is a particular thing around diversity, and also that key aspect within diversity around that anti-racism. Lots of you will be aware of the Anti-Racist Wales Action Plan that's in place and working towards an anti-racist Wales by 2030, and also that requirement within our curriculum to ensure, and we're one of the first countries in the world to do that, ensure that our curriculum reflects that diverse nature of our learners and reflects their experiences going forward. So Estin have produced a really useful podcast. So if you're looking at your anti-racism practices within your school, it's a really good podcast to listen to. It shares some effective practice from the Vale of Glamorgan, who've done some work, but actually we've got schools within our own region who are doing similar work on that as well, which would be happy to share some of their practices, I'm sure, once they've finished developing. But there's some questions for reflection on here that you can use to help you again with your self-evaluation processes around anti-racism. So again, thinking about the mandatory elements around the curriculum, also how you're presenting the history, stories and contributions from Black, Asian and minority ethnic groups. Again, how you're reporting racist incidents. And I know Lisa just mentioned about the anti-bullying policy, and I know Monmouthshire are working towards building the anti-racism practice into their policies as well for their schools in their local authority. Again, how to respond to racist incidents, and also then how you're evaluating the impact of your work. So some things to think about, but there are lots of professional learning opportunities to support you in some of those key areas. So first of all, just want to remind you that on the Supporting Our Schools website, we have a page linked to that cross-cutting theme around diversity and anti-racism. And on there are a number of tools that help to support, particularly with developing your anti-racist culture. There's also links to dealing with racist incidents, guidance from DARPL, links to book lists, and also links to professional learning for staff that you can use. But also on the DARPL website, they also offer lots of opportunities for support for you as well. So DARPL offer school drop-ins. They're online sessions after school at 3:30 for an hour, and they're open sessions, and they're open to anyone that works in any school setting. And they're there to offer support, consultation, guidance or challenge. So if you've got a particular question that you'd like to explore with them, or any issues or a particular aspect around curriculum that you need help with, there's an opportunity for you to have a chat with their team DARPL through those drop-in sessions. And there's also an early years drop-in session as well. So there's one on the 8th of July for schools, and then there's one for early years settings on the 8th of July at 4:30 as well. So again, the links are live on this slide, so you can click on the links and book your opportunity to go and along to their drop-in sessions to speak to them. And then they've also got another drop-in session then on the other side of the summer holidays on the 8th of September that you can link to. One of the other aspects that you can join DARPL with as well is their Enhanced Leadership series. So if you are somebody that's going to be leading and the development of that cross-cutting theme, particularly around diversity and specifically around anti-racism, this is a great professional learning opportunity. So again, there's a link on the slide for you there to register and apply for that. And it's a programme that runs across the year, and there's a mix of face-to-face and online sessions. You'll be with a cohort of people, and again you'll work together in terms of developing your anti-racist practice, and then how you can support developing that anti-racist practice within your schools. And it's open to everybody across any setting, so early years, all schools, so that's primary, secondary, all through PRU, alternative settings and so on. So again, if you're looking for an opportunity to develop your practice around that and your leadership around that, definitely recommend registering for that programme, and it's free to attend. And then the other aspect around it is the DARPL Advocacy Network, or DAN as it's more affectionately known. And again, this is a free aspect to join around DARPL. And again, when you're a member of the DARPL Advocacy Network, there's some support that you can further access to support your anti-racist practice. So again, support around your school improvement plans, invitations to the DARPL events, access to the regional DAN sessions that they run, monthly Q&As, termly webinars that you can access, and then also access to all of the DARPL resources to support your delivery of an anti-racist culture within your school and curriculum. And also, if this is something that's important to you, you also get the opportunity to have the DAN stamp to display on your website and anything that you share around your school to talk about your work and affiliation with that. And also within that DAN network, then you have 3 levels that you can support with. So you can start as a revolutionary, which is phase 1, move to innovator, which is phase 2, and then pioneer, which is phase 3. And there are some things that they ask you to do as part of being a revolutionary, an innovator, or a pioneer school. And lots of those things will be things you've probably already thought about or started. So for example, phase 1 is looking at having anti-racist leadership or professional learning on your SDP, ensuring governors have completed the DARPL Governor series, that you've got a member of staff on the Enhanced Leadership Programme that I just talked about as well. And again, that's all fully funded. Adoption or adaptation of the Responding to Racist Incidents policy or guidance that they've published. Inviting somebody else along to be part of it as well, writing a blog or something that you've done in terms of your development, and then the professional learning, engaging the whole school to be engaging with some aspect around the professional learning that they offer. So if this is something you are thinking about, it might be something that can help support your action planning, particularly in terms of your school development plan, in terms of anti-racism and moving that aspect of your practice forward. And then finally, just in case you haven't seen it, Show Racism Red Card have published some new resources linked to the Women's Euros 2025, and it's a free pack of lessons and activities to support teaching of racism and anti-racism, again linked to the theme of Women's Euros. And there should be something in there to suit everyone, regardless of which setting you come from. So again, all you have to do is click on the form and complete it, and then they'll send out the free pack ready to you as well. So again, all the links are on the slide for you to be able to do that, and Kate's very helpfully popped all of them in the chat as well, so you've got access to them as well. So some of the updates and key things to think about in terms of developing your diversity and anti-racism practices. Right, I think you're going to have a rest from my voice now, and I'm going to hand over to Kate.
Okay, you have 2 minutes, Adelaide. Three. It's a lot of information to get in, isn't it? Okay, so we're just going to have just a couple of slides around the SEAL community. I know that, we've been using the SEAL resources for quite a while across the region, but we actually finance you as schools to have access to the SEAL community so that you can get all of the resources, all of the videos, all of the things that you need. So there's a way to sign up specifically. Obviously, you've got your links on the screen, which I'll pop into the chat after I finish speaking. But you just need to make sure that you put South East Wales EAS into it when you're signing up. It's just so that Julie and Jean, who are the creators of SEAL, know that you're coming from our region, so they know that you don't have to pay to access it because we've already done that for you. We also have access to all of the SEAL resources on the hub. So we put the link on there for you. You just go straight to that, and then you'll get all of your primary and secondary school resources. They have been around quite a while. I remember using them 20 years ago when I first started teaching, but they are really useful. They are still linked to that health and wellbeing. Julie and Jean have done a lot of work as well around linking it to the health and wellbeing AOLE. You've got your key themes around new beginnings, linking to that sense of belonging, getting on or falling out. So we're talking about our, restorative practices as well. So there's lots in there, even if you're not using them all as within the way that they are planned. You could be dipping in and out, and they're really useful resources. We've also got a team space as well for you to join that has all the links and things in there as well. Can I have the next slide, please, Adelaide? I'm just going to pop as well. So this one now, this is some new guidance. This is just hopefully to help you as practitioners. We know you don't have lots of time to be going and looking for things. So one of the things that we talked about and we had feedback from for you as practitioners was that actually sometimes the SEAL community website is quite large. It's quite difficult to find some things. And we have worked behind the scenes. I know Adelaide in particular at organising some of the resources so that you can access them. As I said, they're also accessible on Hub now. I remember when I was a teacher back in the day, I would have to literally search and Google different websites to try to find the different topics that I needed for SEAL, but they are all in one place for you now. So Julie and Jean have just created a document, which is this guidance document, which just really gives you a little video. So there's a YouTube clip there for you. It's just Jean talking through how you use the website, where you can find everything. Really simple. I think it's about 15-20 minutes to watch, and it shows you what all of the resources and things that you can access for free in our region. Thanks, Adelaide. And then in the second part of that, then they've also created a YouTube video playlist, which is really useful. So they're 29 short online videos linked to that social and emotional learning. You can look at things like, you know, obviously it links to the topics themselves, so your new beginnings and your falling, getting on and falling out, but also things like getting children, you know, to make friends, keep friends, how they resolve those conflicts. So there's lots on there, and they're very short little videos for you to use. You could use them for inset sessions, staff training, and anything really that you can focus on. And it might just give you some ideas as well when you're planning your lessons or you're thinking about what you're doing or your needs. So we've linked that on there as well. So there's a direct link to that YouTube video for you. I'll just pop that into the chat as well so that you have it. And then you can just go onto that YouTube page, and there's that selection then, and there's 29 of them. So there is definitely worth a little look. There'll be something that you can use, particularly, you know, within your role of health and wellbeing lead. So I'll pop them on there for you as well. And on the next page, then we just have the link then to our team space, and also within that team space, Adelaide has beautifully organised it, because she's very organised, as you can tell, into all of the areas that you need. So your primary phase, your secondary, if you need it for progression and assessment. We also have family SEALs. So if you are as well, you know, one of your other hats is community focused schools or family and community engagement, there are some resources in there around working with families too. You might need some SEAL posters, and traditionally, as you know, there are assemblies and things that you can use as well. Also, one thing I nearly forgot is that there is, if you sign up to the SEAL community, you also get a newsletter that comes out regularly. When we get that gets popped into that team space as well. So I'll pop the link for you to become a member of the team space in the chat, but just lots of additional resources, which means that you don't have to create your own.
Yeah, and I was going to say one of the other things, which because I've been in a PRU setting this week actually, is that they do also have short interventions that you can use, resources. So again, in the secondary and the primary, there are small group intervention resources within there, which some of the ELSAs have been using to support and supplement some of the activities and things that they're doing. So if you're looking for some support around intervention or small group work, particularly in relation to any social and emotional, it's definitely worth having a look at those too. They've been really beneficial for some of the settings that we've worked with this week as well, actually. So thank you, Kate. It was nice to have a little bit of a voice rest. I've still got another voice rest now because I'm going to hand it to Sean.
Thank you, Adelaide. Yes, this is just a heads up for those who weren't able to attend our recent workshop on kit bag. I know some of you are using this resource developed by Sport Wales, but for those of you who haven't yet seen the resources, they continue to develop them, update them, you know, as specific support for this What Matters statement. So just a couple of videos, resources really, for you to watch at your leisure. They have developed the resources to harmonise with Curriculum for Wales, and as I said, key aspects of that particular AOLE around physical literacy, impacts of nutrition, emotional, physical connection, and physical health and safety. So yeah, and they are 3 to 16, the resources, so all phases. So please do have a look if you haven't yet seen any of these resources. Thanks, Adelaide.
Yeah, Sean. Yeah, and again, free to set up an account. So you just go to the Sports Wales website and set up an account, and you get access to all the kit bag resources sat in there. And Sean's right, they are developing and updating them all the time. I know they've put some aspects in around progression and assessment, and starting to link all of those into the health and wellbeing AOLE specifically as well. So definitely worth a visit, or sharing with the person who leads physical development within your school as well. So another thing just it's a signpost and highlight to you as well. So if careers and work-related education is something that you are looking at or developing within your school, again, this could be secondary, special, PRU or primary. Careers Wales are offering a careers leadership qualification PL opportunity. It's free to access. There's no cost involved in applying for it. But again, it helps then to support you with leading that particular aspect or that particular area within your school in terms of that cross-cutting theme. And again, it's a cross-cutting theme that needs to run throughout the curriculum. So again, a really great opportunity and a really great professional learning opportunity for somebody to take on and support them to lead. So the application's open from the 13th. So this is Friday, the 13th, actually, this week. And all you need to do is email the curriculum team. So I've put the link on the slide there, so you can email the curriculum team if that is a professional learning opportunity they are interested in, and if perhaps CWRE is something that you're leading or developing within your school at the moment, to help you develop and realise that as well.
Yeah, Adelaide, just to add on to that, I know that we've got some schools here with us this afternoon who were at the recent CWRE network, and you'll know that a secondary school shared an example of a CWRE internal audit that they'd undertaken, and this is actually a feature of this qualification. But that aside, if you have an interest in doing a CWRE audit to see exactly what activities are taking place across, all curriculum areas of the school, then please do get in touch, because we can share that with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Diolch, Sian. Thank you very much. So just another resource to signpost to you as well. And again, this links closely into the health and wellbeing AOLE, particularly around health and hygiene. So there's also a resource called eBug. And again, this is a health education programme to help support around sort of that health and hygiene aspects. It runs from early years right up to Key Stage 4. Obviously, it's a UK-wide resource, so it's linked to sort of the Key Stage 1, Key Stage 2 and so on, but obviously you'll link that into where your learners are and where they're starting from. It's available bilingually, so Welsh medium schools can access all the resources bilingually as well. And again, it's a really useful resource to help you plan the development of your health and hygiene teaching and learning as part of the health and wellbeing AOLE. So again, it's all linked there as well. I know Kate will pop the link to the website in the chat. All free to access and free to use. There's parent workshops, lesson plans and resources sat there as well to help you. So again, a really useful addition to help support your health and wellbeing curriculum, and particularly the AOLE as well. And then I just wanted to signpost or remind you around the PDG. So particularly if you're an equity lead or supporting your vulnerable learners within your school, particularly your EFSM learners, it is that time of year where schools should be grant planning now and getting ready to do that. So the pupil development grant was released in April, and schools will then need to focus their spend on that. So there's some key areas that you can use that grant for. So I'm sharing it with you today because health and wellbeing is one of those elements, but also what's really key is that high quality learning and teaching, and also community focused schools. So those are highlighted in bold because that is where Welsh Government, in terms of their grant terms and conditions, ask you to direct the PDG funding to support those EFSM learners. Again, also you will have, if you're a setting that has early years learners within it, you'll have access to the early years PDG, or the EYPDG as it's known. And again, that should also have a focus around emotional and social well-being. So again, a key link to health and well-being. Physical development, again, key to the health and wellbeing AOLE, and that aspect around support and speech, language and communication. So that's where that funding should be directed towards to support the learners within your settings. So it's just for you to be aware of that in terms of health, wellbeing or equity leads, in terms of what needs to be done. So these are the things that must happen. So your leaders within your school, if you're not the head teacher, will be thinking about and doing this. So again, spending it in line with the terms and conditions of the grant, which are these. focusing on those key areas set out in the PDG guidance, so the ones I just referred to. But again, that focus on high quality teaching, learning and teaching, and community focused schools. You can focus on whole school approaches that support other learners who are not EFSM learners, but it must support your EFSM learners as a bare minimum. You should have a lead in your school who supports your PDG eligible learners. So that's sometimes a vulnerable learner lead, an equity lead, or so on, or someone that's a wellbeing lead, which might be you, or someone in a pastoral role. And again, your PDG can't be used to fund that role of that person. It should be a senior member of school community who again is familiar with those learners within your school. And then there's also a requirement for schools to publish an annual PDG strategy statement on your website about how you're planning to use that PDG, but also what was the impact of your PDG from the previous year. So I'm just highlighting those things to you so that you're aware of them. There are some documents that really help with that as well. So the ESTIN supplementary guidance around mitigating the impact of poverty, really useful guidance to read to help support you with self-evaluating. There's also the Welsh Government Guide to the Pupil Development Grant, which was updated and published last year. And they are about to imminently, we hope, publish their PDG CLAR guidance, which is also due to come out. There are grant terms and conditions linked to that as well. So I just wanted to raise your awareness of those things. There are some grant planning workshops that are running in local authorities, so they're coming up in the next week or so, which will explore these a little bit further. But I just wanted to highlight them to you, particularly if you're a health, wellbeing or an equity lead within your school, you need to have awareness of those. Which leads me nicely into thinking about how you can spend that PDG. So I'm going to share or hand over to Jane now, who'll talk a little bit around something that could support that PDG element within your schools.
Thanks, Adelaide. We are just now opening the RADI application process. You'll be aware that we've had raising the attainment of disadvantaged youngsters in the EAS for nearly 8 years now. The process is by application, whereas previously we've had lots of schools apply and sign up for it. We've actually asked to make sure that you're ready for RADI. So schools that wish to apply should have or should be able to demonstrate how they are mitigating the impact of poverty. And there is a form which Kate has popped into the chat for you to fill out. It's quite a detailed form because we are expecting schools to show how they are ready for RADI and that they understand that it is quite a long-term commitment. If you decide to apply, the first year is totally free. The EAS pays for that, and there will be an induction day, 6 tutorials, and you get a huge amount of resources to support you through the RADI process. And the RADI process focuses on your most socioeconomically challenged learners. It is largely around your free school meal learners, but will include some other learners who perhaps you are aware of being impacted by poverty. We offer strategic support, we offer coaching, and it's really a really detailed professional learning programme and can have really strong impact for schools that follow that through. So if you're interested, please contact us and also fill out the application form. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you, Jane. Yeah, definitely. And we've had schools that have had really positive impacts for their learners, having really strategically used the programme to support them in mitigating the impact of poverty and support. So please fill that form in. We'd love to hear from you. So just to raise your awareness as well, so you'll be aware that we will be looking at developing the professional learning offer for the next academic year and then sharing that with you. So teams across the service at the moment are just putting all of that together to be in line with your local authorities' priorities and so on. And then we will be running some marketplace events as we did last year, where anyone from any school can come along to find out about the offer, to discuss any needs you've got around professional learning or support that you need, and obviously some resources and things that you can take away from those sessions. So they've been shared with your head teachers, but I just wanted to highlight them to you as well. So there's a session for each local authority, so you can see the dates and the times and the venues on the screen there. If you're not able to attend the session that's held within your local authority, you are welcome to go and attend an alternative session in one of the other other LAs as well. So please don't feel like you need to miss out if you can't make your own. And like I said, it's an opportunity to come along, have a chat with us, find out what professional learning is available to support you, and not just professional learning, but bespoke or targeted support that you might need. Have a chat with us and we can get things booked in and support you ready for the next academic year. So an open invitation to come and join some of those sessions as well. Right, finally, I'm going to move on to, well, I was looking for an image for team news, and this is Arsenal. So I apologise if anybody doesn't appreciate or follow Arsenal from a football club perspective. I can see Rob smiling at me in an amused way, because I know he's definitely, you're not an Arsenal fan, are you? No, I thought not. It was the only image I could find to have an opportunity to share team news with you. So I did just want to take this opportunity just to give you an update from our team's perspective. So that's Sian, Kate, Jane and I. So first, I'm going to share some, well, Sian will determine it as very happy news for her, and we are very happy and delighted for her. But after many, many years, not just of working in the education sector, but many years of working with the EAS as well, the wonderful Sian is going to be taking retirement from September. So we're going to really miss her. I'm incredibly jealous, Sian, already. But, you know, we're really going to miss her from the team, but we're also really pleased and really happy for her that she's going to have this opportunity to take retirement going forward. And I said in September, we'll be thinking about health and wellbeing things, while Sian will be, no doubt, either in a caravan touring the UK somewhere, or flying off on some sort of cruise to go and meet her daughter. But a well-deserved retirement, no less, for all of the service and the work that you've given to us and to the region, and all the relationships and things that you've built up with everybody across the region as well. So it's our opportunity to say congratulations on your retirement, but we will miss you very much from September without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, and just to share that news with everybody that's here today as well. I don't know, Sian, if you wanted to say something.
Yeah, thanks, Adelaide, and thanks, colleagues on screen. Some of you I've worked with over the years, and it's been a true pleasure and delight, truly. I will miss the job role. I will certainly miss my colleagues, but I know that I'm leaving and handing over to, you know, true expert colleagues in the team, through Adelaide and Jane, who will be picking up my work. And just to say a huge thank you, colleagues, and all the very best to everyone here today for their future careers. And for the summer holidays, let's hope this sunshine continues. But yes, thanks for that, Adelaide.
No, thank you, Sian. And yeah, Jane and I are slightly ashen-faced at all of the wonderful, we've got a high standard to pick up from what you're going to leave behind, Sian, particularly. I know our secondary colleagues will agree in terms of all the work you've done with them, with Seren and the heads of sixth form and the post-16 leadership and all of those things. So and also the contributions you've made to the health and wellbeing and equity team as well. So thank you, and we wish you a very wonderful and happy retirement when it comes. Also, just another update for you as well. So we have the wonderful Kate in our team, who lots of you know very well as well. She's a fabulous team member, and unfortunately I'm going to have to give her up to go and help work with another team, which I'm very disappointed about in September. So the wonderful Kate is going to be one of our fantastic early years practitioners in our early years teams within the EAS. She's going to take all her wonderful experience. I know she loves working with the younger learners. She always, you've always talked very fondly about your nursery, Kate, when you used to work in your nursery within your school. I know you've got an ALM background in terms of your ALNCO, and I know you love health and wellbeing, which is at the core of all sort of the early years work that you'll know from looking at the curriculum for non-maintained settings and all of the things that sit within that as well. So Kate is going to be taking her wonderful expertise, and I'm sad to say glitter, which she'll be sprinkling all over the early years team when she moves across to
I will
them.
leave you some glitter.
Thank you. Yeah, so she'll be moving across to the early years team, which is a huge loss for Jane and I, but a massive a massive gain for their team as well. So we just wanted to thank you, Kate. Not that you're going anywhere from the service, and Jane and I will still be picking your brains and expertise. You won't be far away. But just to also say thank you for all of your work that you've done within this team as well. And like I said, we'll continue to link in with you whilst you're working with the early years people. But however, we wish you the very best of luck as well as you move across into that team, and sprinkle your glitter and magic wherever you go when you go into that team as well. So yes, so some news that we just wanted to share with you. So that leaves Jane and I next year. So I will be putting our contact details up. So I just want to point out, Sian hasn't retired yet. So if you need her for anything, she's still going to be available right up to the end of the term. So I will share the contact details, as will Kate within our team. And obviously, if you need to get in touch with Kate in September, she'll be part of that early years team. But she'll always contact us if there's anything we can do to support you if you contact her anyway. So I'll share our contact details so that you can still contact us before the end of the term if there's anything we can help with. And please come along to the marketplaces and chat with us as well if there's anything you would like us to help or support with. I know there's some changes coming in terms of the middle tier review and some of the local authorities and some of the work that's happening. And I know from a health, wellbeing and equity perspective, we won't be off the support for one of our local authorities. Caerphilly isn't going to be going forward from a September perspective, but we just wanted to say thank you for all the work that you've done with us. And if there's anything we can do to support with between now and the end of the summer term, please get in touch with us. We'd be more than happy to help. Yes, thank you. It feels a bit early to say wishing you the best summer because we've still got quite a few weeks of the term left, but we won't have another Health, Wellbeing or Equity Network meeting before the end of the summer now. But we just wanted to say thank you for all your engagement with us over the last year, and we'll look forward to continued working with you towards the end of this term and obviously into the start of the next term, and hope to see you at our marketplace events, and we'll be happy to chat through anything we can support with there as well.